Up the pipe!
So I've been struggling for the last 30 to 45 minutes trying to start this video or make this video, not because I'm emotional or anything like that, but I am genuinely struggling to put this into coherent words and just give my overall thoughts on Bobby Hill and parting ways with Collingwood. Struggling to start this video, pay my respects, and just talk about this in a balanced approach or proper nuance. Uh, just I don't know where to start this video. I don't know where to end this video, but I want to talk about this, bring everything to light, and just move on as a Collingwood fan, and just push on for 2026. The update, and this has been since Friday morning. Collingwood and Bobby Hill parting ways. I've also got this to bring up. I was starting these videos with the Bobby Hill bobblehead and giving my thoughts and recollections and collections and whatever. And I'm struggling to put into words right now. It's a rare thing, to be honest, in my lifetime as a Collingwood fan to see a player depart the club during the season. I can accept it if it's a long-term injury, like Nathan Murphy, 2024, before I started doing YouTube videos. That was a long-term concussion, retiring, medical retirement, that one. But this one, with the circumstances involved, it's a rare thing for me to cover. It's a rare thing for me to talk about as a fan and talking to mates and family and whatever. The bobblehead, I've got the bobbleheads in my lounge room now. Bit of nostalgia with the soundbite, the intro to this video, and also the Bobby Hill bobblehead. I'll bring this back. Very detailed, this one, and be worth quite a bit, this bobblehead. But also, pub trivia question: who won the 2023 Norm Smith medal? What a weird answer that's going to be in a few years' time. But this video, it's a Sunday afternoon, so best possible time for me to give my thoughts on the situation around Bobby Hill, Collingwood, and also, I guess for me, it's closure. Uh, I did see the Charlie Gardiner press conference and the statement, and it does leave a little bit more questions than answers, or lack of answers being, or lack of, or, yeah, struggling to put this in the word still. So I thought it'd be best to go through the club statements, the press conference, just a timeline of events as well throughout this whole ordeal, Bobby Hill's entire career, not just for Collingwood, but for GWS, because it does bring nuance and context and builds up Bobby Hill heading to Collingwood and then moving on, what it means for Collingwood, what it means for Bobby Hill, what it means for us as fans. And I know there are some Collingwood fans out there, people who are subscribed to this channel, who are probably thinking, oh God, it's another Bobby Hill video, not just on my channel, but I think just in general, the content creating space, the media talking points on Bobby Hill, you know, Bobby Hill being a talking point with Collingwood fans overall on message forums and social media. For me, this is going to be one and done. Just one video on Bobby Hill. I'll talk about him in a past tense, or talking about delistings or list changes. Bobby Hill being a delisted player as of this recording, and then we move on. So I'll go back to Friday morning, Collingwood's club statement. Not an official club statement, but more of a report or an article officially parting ways. It was reported from Cal Toomey during the week. Collingwood made it official Friday morning. Collingwood's Executive General Manager, Charlie Gardiner, saying, "We thank Bobby for the contribution he has made to the Collingwood Football Club. The club has been working with Bobby over the past 12 months to put support structures in place to help him work through some personal matters. Despite this, Bobby has unfortunately struggled to meet his commitments to the club consistently this year, and they agreed that taking a break from football is the best decision for him and his family. Bobby will always be recognised as a Premiership player and a Norm Smith Medallist at Collingwood, and we wish him all the very best." In the same statement or report, Bobby Hill releasing a statement through the club: "I'll always be proud to have been part of this club and thankful for the opportunity to represent Collingwood. I leave with memories I'll cherish forever. I'm going to take a break from football to keep working on myself and regain my passion for the game." So as of this recording, or as of Friday morning, signed off by the AFL and the AFL Players Association, Bobby Hill mutually parting ways, a delisted player. So a senior list spot has opened up, but there are still a bit of murmurs and murkiness around the salary cap and Bobby Hill's contract, because Bobby Hill was contracted until the end of 2030. He signed an extension April 29th after Anzac Day, extending him to 2030. It was a 4+ year deal, $750,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of cashola, and that's gone to waste. So bit of conjecture around our salary cap and what this means. there was no real coverage on that in Charlie Gardiner's press conference. And just going off the age, some, I guess, quotes and screen grabs and whatnot. I'm not going to play the press conferences or anything on this video. I will just discuss a few quotes from Charlie Gardiner, answering some questions. It was a big nothing burger, just a lot of PR. Decent questions from the journalist, and Charlie Gardiner flat batting it on the front foot, which is fair enough. That's what he's meant to do. But Charlie Gardiner, a few quotes here. It's been a mutual position that we've arrived at, which we think is in the best interest of Bobby and the club. He's going to take some time to step away from football and focus on his family and himself. What we've seen, especially in recent months, has just been it's been a real challenge for Bobby to consistently rock up and train and prepare to play AFL and be a professional athlete. And that's the thing right there, just bare minimum as a professional athlete, just overall professionalism. Meeting your obligations, your commitments. You sign the contract, honor your commitments unless there's proper health issues that you can't address or you can't address or meet your obligations because of health reasons. Obviously, the challenge here is mental health. There's also personal factors with Bobby Hill and Charlie Gardner continuing. I think we've all just got to the point where we've realised that right now that's not the priority for Bobby. His family and himself is where his energies need to focus. Again, there was questions about Bobby Hill's contract and what it means for Collingwood's salary cap, but they weren't answered from Charlie Gardner, uh, stating that the arrangement we've reached with Bobby is confidential. I won't go into details of that other than to say that supporting Bobby through his transition has been front of mind for us, and we'll do that and make sure we do it well. I'm not going to go into detail as to the ins and outs and all the conversations and all the support structures that we've put in place and the work we've done together with Bobby, but we're disappointed that it's got to this. But we are firm and confident that we think this is the right decision for everyone. We'll commit to Bobby to make sure that we facilitate him reigniting his career if that's what he chooses to do. I understand that may be an aspiration of his down the track, but the focus right now is just on him and his family. Respectfully, the salary cap had nothing to do with the decision or the position that we've arrived at together. We will deal with that down the track and separately, but this has been a decision we've arrived at together in the best interest of Bobby and the club. And again, regarding the salary cap, we're not really going to know much about this until the off season. If we genuinely have money to burn and splash it around on big fishes and free agents, we're going to find out. If we don't land anyone this year or even next year or the year after, then we can put two and two together that we are paying some portion of Bobby Hill's salary. But we've paid out Bobby Hill this year. We paid him out last year. We're supposedly paying a small portion of 2027. If we're paying a small portion next year, I have a good feeling that we're not paying too much of Bobby Hill's contract anymore. Maybe a little bit, but it wouldn't impact our salary cap too much. Again, the AFL signing off on this same day as well. Tyson Stengel and Geelong parting ways. Tyson Stengel leaving a statement on Instagram. Bobby Hill, he's been silent on Instagram, but that's fair enough. So for Bobby Hill, wishing him nothing but the best, and whether he wants to stay quiet on Instagram or social media, focus on his personal life, his family, going back to either Western Australia or whether that means negotiating with clubs, with his player management or his agents or whatever. He's not a Collingwood player anymore, so whatever Bobby Hill does with meeting at other clubs or getting his body right for next year or personal circumstances, that's for Bobby Hill to deal with. But I wanted to take this chance to, I guess, reflect on Bobby Hill's time at Collingwood, but also just go back a few years to Bobby Hill's GWS career because it does build into his transition to Collingwood. Some circumstances at GWS that led to massive moments for Bobby Hill at Collingwood. So for Bobby Hill, being selected pick 24 in the 2018 national draft from GWS, makes his AFL debut in round 17, 2019 against Richmond at the MCG, kicks 3 goals on debut. His second game of AFL footy was the following week against Collingwood, his first AFL win. He was dropped before the final series in 2019 was recalled for the preliminary final against us. They win by 4 points. And then Bobby Hill was dropped for Toby Green for the grand final, which is fair enough. You are not going to stay in the side for a Toby Green, but Lockie Whitfield and a few other GWS players were injured heading into that grand final. So a bit stiff for Bobby Hill to be dropped for that grand final. Now, obviously, we know what Bobby Hill did in 2023. I'm not saying if he played that grand final that the Giants win, but you just never know with his flair on grand final day what could have been. Lachlan Keefe was also dropped for that grand final. So a former Pies player and a future Pies player were dropped for that grand final, and they lose by 89 points. Thank you for robbing us of a great grand final, GWS. 2020, 2021, Bobby Hill in and out of the side, 5 games in 2020, 17 games in 2021. Now, I bring up 2021 because a lot of Pies fans may not remember this, or going back 5 years, that we got in Lipinski and Nathan Kruger pretty much in the first couple of days of that trade period, and then we just laid low. Um, New coach, new era at Collingwood. We almost got Bobby Hill at the end of 2021. So Bobby Hill was in and out of the side in 2021. He was recalled for the semi-final against Geelong in Perth and then requested a trade. Essendon were leading the race. They were the front runners early on. Adrian Dodoro was either there or the skeletons or the ghost of Dodoro was still there. So they were a pain to negotiate with. So the Giants said no to Essendon. Then Collingwood comes in. They were prepared to offer a first round pick for Bobby Hill. The Giants said no, not because they scoffed at it, but more so he's contracted till end of 2022. Thank you for your consideration. We'll talk about it next year if he wants to leave. And that was pretty much it. Collingwood laying the groundwork for Bobby Hill in 2022, starting end of 2021. 2022, Bobby Hill plays 11 games, just 9 goals. Unfortunately for Bobby Hill, his health with testicular cancer comes into play. Got that sorted. Didn't play much AFL footy, but he was right to go 2023. Requests a trade. Collingwood comes in, and one of the first trades done in the 2022 trade period was Bobby Hill to Collingwood for pick 43 and a future second round pick. We got the Giants pick 40 and Bobby Hill. And given what happened in 2023, that was more than a steal. That's a bargain. That's a fleece job right there. Bobby Hill comes to Collingwood, kicks 3 goals in his first game at Collingwood, kicks 3 goals in a game 4 times. One of those was the qualifying final, that low scoring game. But Bobby Hill, just once at GWS, kicked 3 goals in a game, did it 4 times in 2023. And then the coup de grace was Bobby Hill kicking a career high 4 goals in the 2023 grand final before half time as well, and winning the Norm Smith medal. Just a tremendous day, one of the best days of my life, and a bit of a personal story as well. And I'll shout out my dad if he's watching this. But I'm bringing this story up because, again, one of the best days of my life. Build up to the grand final. We're talking about predictions and Norm Smith medals and whatnot. The obvious one was Nick Dacos coming back from injury in the prelim final. But in the grand final, I went with Jordan De Goey as Norm Smith medalist. My dad, somehow, I don't know why, chose Bobby Hill. And I actually scoffed at that idea. A small forward winning a Norm Smith medal. I thought he'd be exciting on grand final day, but just not Norm Smith medal worthy. But before half time, my dad called it. Bobby Hill would win a Norm Smith. We won the grand final. And sure enough, he called it way before half time. He called it before the game started. But Bobby Hill winning the Norm Smith, didn't put money on it, thankfully. Gambled responsibly, but you've got to gamble smartly as well. But Bobby Hill winning that Norm Smith, my dad predicting it before the game, just one of the best days of my life. And if there's no Bobby Hill, there's no Collingwood Premiership. We are sitting here with a 16-year Premiership drought, stuck on 15 Premierships. Bobby Hill, first year at Collingwood, 33 goals from 24 games, almost a September specialist with that sort of performance in the final series. And I think he was on the podium for the Gary Ayres medal. 2024 plays every single game, but we missed finals, 30 goals from 23 games. Bobby Hill winning 2024 Mark of the Year, but also the Gordon Coventry Trophy for most goals at Collingwood that year. Bit of a down year from expectations. 30 goals, not something to scoff at, but there were a lot of goal assists. So he could have easily kicked 40 plus goals that year. But a solid year for Bobby Hill as a small forward in a struggling side, we'll put it lightly. And then 2025, you know, things were going okay-ish before Anzac Day. Kicks that ripping goal in the third quarter for Anzac Day. Then April 29th, signs or extends at Collingwood until the end of 2030. We got him locked and loaded for life, pretty much. But then, unfortunately, only plays 7 games and kicks 9 goals at AFL level. He does get his first Brownlow vote. That was against Fremantle, that 5-day break. And then, yeah, just goes off the rails from there. He was a laid out against North Melbourne, comes back in. He plays game 100 against Melbourne for King's birthday, comes back after the bye, struggles against St Kilda, gets a late goal in that final quarter, and then he's a laid out for West Coast. And then it's all downhill from there, unfortunately. It's been nothing but downhill, no pun intended, downhill saying that. But for the last 12, 13, 14 months, it's just been nothing but a waste. He's only played 7 games from his extended contract. And if you take a step back, it's one of the worst extensions or contracts we've had since Dane Beams. 4-year contract at Collingwood, gave up 2 first rounders for Dane Beams, who only played, I think, 11 games for us. So either 9 or 11 games, it's still nothing but a waste. Nothing but a waste. And Bobby Hill, 2025, played 14 AFL games for 20 goals. He was having a solid year up until the crash out, and we had trade value there. There's Pies fans that will say in retrospect, and there were Pies fans saying this last year that we should have traded Bobby Hill when his trade value was there, let him go to a club to address his circumstances and get himself right for footy again. But stayed at Collingwood. He signed a contract to 2030, so it was going to be tough to get him off our books. Comes back in 2026, on and off training, and that's the thing for the last 12 months was any sort of training reports. The first and obvious question was Bobby Hill there? Did Bobby Hill train? How did he go? And it was just nothing but frustration for me. No one was saying that to me, but just I was sick of seeing that. Anyone that was at training, they were posting videos or posting their thoughts from training. The first response or the first comment was, "Did Bobby Hill train?" Just when's Bobby Hill available? And that's all these emotions talking about this, right? One of them is relief. We don't have to hear about it anymore. It's disappointing to say that, but we don't have to hear about it anymore. 2026, Bobby Hill plays 3 VFL games. April 24th against Essendon, almost got concussed first game back, but plays against Essendon, kicks a goal, gives off quite a few goals as well. Then plays against Box Hill, kicks 3 goals against Box Hill, a quiet start in that game, and you thought, okay, Bobby Hill's making progress. And I said this at the time in the VFL report, Bobby Hill making progress despite losing by 9 points. And then he plays against Geelong. Apparently, there was illness involved and he wasn't able to perform well. And that's the final game he played for Collingwood at any level was in the VFL against Geelong. He did play VFL last year against Frankston, kicked 3 goals, and looked like he never missed a beat last year. There was talks about conditioning last year, but that was right this year, unfortunately. His conditioning never got right. There was talks about returning against Sydney for Sir Doug Nicholls round. There was talks about returning after the bye this year, and then it just never eventuated. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But Bobby Hill ends his Collingwood career with 61 games, 83 goals. He's a Premiership Player in 2023, Norm Smith Medallist, Gordon Coventry Trophy winner 2024, Mark of the Year, and not to mention as well, 2025, kicks 4 goals in the Indigenous All-Star game, almost was best on ground, second behind Jai Simpkin, and then it was all downhill. Just what could have been for Bobby Hill at Collingwood, not just at Collingwood, but just his entire career. And it's still there if he wants to address it, if he wants to be professional, get his body right, get his professional and personal circumstances right. I'm not going to begrudge him if he wants a third club, if he wants to go back to the Waffle or any state leagues and commit for half a season or a full season. There are 17 clubs out there who I'm pretty sure wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole right now. They'll do their due diligence regarding Bobby Hill, the interviews or whatever. There's the preseason draft, there's the rookie draft, the listed free agency, SSP, the mid-season draft. He's going to have to commit consistently for a full season. That's a thing right there. For the last 12 plus months, there's been no consistency with Bobby Hill, professionalism, personal isms, or sorry to say that, but like just personal life, professional life, as an athlete, as a player, as a person, just hasn't been there. That's what he needs right now, Bobby Hill. Just that consistency in his life. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Mental health is no joke. Personal circumstances is no joke. You could be a man in your mid-20s, you can find yourself in the wrong crowds, and you can find yourselves up shit creek without a paddle. You can get yourself out of it as a man with the right people around you. Don't burn your bridges. Take on the advice. Take on that tough love, not just from mates, from family, from friends, or colleagues, whatever. You need to take that feedback on board. You need to improve yourself as a man, as a person, as an athlete, as whatever you need in front of your peers. I hope Bobby Hill, he's not going to watch this, but like as a man, you're going to look back on this in 5 years' time. Just what could have been? What could have been? You can look back on this in 5 years' time and laugh, and not in a joking way or piss it all away sort of thing. But I hope he gets his life on track. I hope he gets his sporting career back on track, and then he can look back on this and go, what the fuck was I thinking? Now, if he finds a third club next year, for example, and he looks born again, I can see Collingwood fans, even myself, being bitter about it. I'm not sitting here bitter right now. I'm sitting here somewhat relieved, but also sad and disappointed. I'm not angry. I'm not frustrated. I'm frustrated with the inconsistency. And the reason why I didn't talk about Bobby Hill too much regarding his circumstances or made videos about this on a weekly basis or whatever was for me in my life, not just with Bobby Hill here, but with my mates and family, and even I'll bring up past relationships. Uh, if I get double crossed or someone's actions don't meet their words, or I don't want to treat them as a burden, but if you know you're fucking up or you know that what you're doing is impacting others, if it's impacting fans or impacting people around you, you need to put your finger out. And I saw that with Bobby Hill, the lack of consistency with training, with playing, with his professionalism and everything involved. I even said during the mid-season review regarding Bobby Hill that for me, if he was to make his AFL return, I wouldn't talk about it until he runs up that tunnel onto the ground. Then I'll know for sure that he's making his AFL return. And that's me. Maybe I'm being insecure about this or just keeping the walls up too high or too firm. I say this with other circumstances regarding footy, like Nick Dacos, predicted to win the Brownlow medal. Brownlow predictor has him 11 points clear with 4 games to go. For me, I'm thinking, right, someone can get 12 votes in 4 games and go past him. For me, regarding off-season targets, Lockie Neal, Zach Butters, or just anyone else, I need to see them at the KGM Centre in the Collingwood polo, signing the contract at the table, or for the club to announce it for me to be convinced, all right, they're at Collingwood. The media can speculate on this, but I wouldn't buy it, in my opinion. Just I don't want to be burned, and just a few other circumstances as a sporting fan where signees or whatever, I get burned too much. But I am digressing. That is it regarding Bobby Hill at Collingwood. They've officially parted ways. Bobby Hill will be announced as a delisted player. Uh, End of season, list changes, he'll be delisted. So our list spot opens for Collingwood. Surely that means Saxena gets promoted to the senior list right there and there. That's an obvious like for like replacement there. Saxena needs time, and that's a perfect sort of example there. For Collingwood, we're going to find out in the off season if it truly means that the salary cap has opened up. If the salary cap has opened up, we've got money to play with. We can bring in big fishes to come into Collingwood, but I'll talk about this in a later video or a future video talking about Collingwood's off-season trade rumours and whatnot. It is coming. It is August, so I'll have to talk about it at some point. Um, we've got players out of contract this year that deserve a contract extension, deserve the cashola. There's the money right there. There's Collingwood players out of contract next year who will be on new contracts, cashola as well. More retirees. Yeah, we've got money to work with, things to figure out. We've got to spend it. So yeah, going to be an interesting off season for Collingwood. For Bobby Hill, I said it earlier, I'll say it here to round out this video. I wish Bobby Hill nothing but the best, not just for his footy career, his professional career, but his personal life, his family, people around him, close to him. Just wishing him nothing but the best. I hope he gets his life back on track. I hope he gets his sporting career back on track. And I hope everyone moves on with their lives. I'm moving on from this video. I'll talk about Bobby Hill briefly regarding list changes in the future, but that's as far as I'll go for Bobby Hill talk. This one and done video for Bobby Hill. And that is it. Leave your comments down below, your thoughts on Bobby Hill. Now, try and keep it sensible, but if you are frustrated by this whole thing, you are entitled to it. Leave your comments down below. Just let it all out, but let it be closure. I know press conference and Bobby Hill not releasing a statement or things like that. You may not think it's closure, but for me, I think it is closure. I think it's time to move on. And you may not get your answers, you may not get what you wanted, but it's as close to closure as you're ever going to get for this. And it's time for us to all move on with our lives. So leave your comments down below, all things Bobby Hill, your highlights, your moments on Bobby Hill. Just, yeah, everything Bobby Hill, leave it down below. Comment all things Collingwood, just whatever. Yeah, scrambling for this video. Struggled to start this recording, but got it out in the end. Still a struggle, but here we are. It's all over. Yeah, that's all for this video. I'll leave you guys all to it. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Please be well. Please be safe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, Bobby Hill.